Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the May 4th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. We'll go ahead and get started with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Velto offered to lead us, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Heather, can we please have roll call?
Taylor,
Here.
Draculich,
Here.
Gower,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Munoz,
Here.
Velto,
Here.
and Villanueva is absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 3, public comment. Do we have any public comment for this item?
Can I say my spiel?
Please do.
It should be noted for those in the audience that comments are to be addressed to the Planning Commission as a whole. Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Planning Commission agenda. Please note that Planning Commission may not take action upon any matter not agendized for possible action on today's agenda. When you are called on for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name and you will be afforded 3 minutes. Lastly, while in this room, please be respectful. Warnings will be issued by the presiding officer if there is disruptive behavior. You will be asked to leave chambers if the behavior continues. And with that, we have no public, we have no requests to speak forms, and no correspondence has been received for this item.
Okay, we will close this item and move on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes from the regular April 6th Planning Commission meeting.
Madam Chair, move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion.
Commissioner Johnson, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I was not present at the meeting. Won't be voting.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have 4 in favor. I think the motion passes with those that were in attendance. Great. We'll move on to item number 5. This is public hearings, item 5.1. This is case number LDC 22-00059, request for a conditional use permit. Do we have a presentation from the applicant, please?
Of course, it's always a challenge, this getting in. Is that okay? Better? Can you hear me okay? Thank you. So in summary, there's the request this evening, conditional use permit for a gas station and a drive-through facility in the MS zone, mixed-use suburban, filling of the major drainage way, and grading, in this case, fills greater than 10 feet, all wrapped into this conditional use permit request. The team, they're all here with me this evening in brief form. Frank Lepre is the applicant developer. He's here with his son, our civil engineering team, Justin Farley and Vince Griffith, and then also the traffic engineer, Perry Schaffner, who you know as a staff person not so long ago and now doing a fine job with Kimley Horn. Wanted to share this because of vicinity. Staff pointed out 3 or 4 key issues. One of the top of the list was the use. And so look at this map and surroundings and get a feel for use. North Valley Storage abutting to the north, railroad tracks across Virginia Street, Copart, Stead Boulevard, a moderate access control arterial, North Virginia Street further down, and then a new mini storage site and a trailer park over there south of Stead Boulevard, in addition to, of course, freeway off-ramp adjacent to the site. I think it's helpful showing land use and making the case of appropriateness of the use and compatibility with those type of surroundings. There's the MS zone. Staff will get into the MS characteristics in more detail in their slide. I wanted to touch on conditions. I thought we spent most of our effort in in walking through this application and particularly conditions of approval to get to a place of staff level of comfort. If you look at number 5, no truck parking, there was fundamentally at the top of the concern staff expressed was truck stop or truck travel plaza at one point, and they expressed this in the narrative of the staff report. We said, fine. We came to agreement this was a little bit vague in its definition, remove the truck parking, and then also condition 6, which is no support facilities that are characteristic of a truck plaza and a lounge, smoking place, all of that stuff that's characteristic of truck travel plaza. So when we accepted condition 5 to change the site plan and those truck spaces, and number 6, no support facilities, that was a big deal to make it clear that it's a convenience store, a gas station with some truck fueling, and then the other requests on the use. Condition number 7, access to meet the RTC MAC moderate access control standards, which may or may not include an accel-decel lane, a left turn pocket. The point is that Stead Boulevard is going to be taking on some character change with this project and in the general development of the area. Condition number 8, Rtc Bus Shelter, somewhere in that stretch between, in that landscape area that I can see there. Of course, we got some right-of-way issues and such, but we're going to manage that. And if, again, required by RTC, we would have the improved bus shelter there. And then condition 14, I think it's a fair condition. Staff brought this up. You guys know as well as anybody that when we have a drive-through facility oriented, the outside of the facility oriented to an arterial street, we do a little more in terms of mitigation. In this case, 10 additional trees to screen the fast food drive-through. Those are the key conditions. The rest are really about the standard types of conditions of approval. Circulation I wanted to touch on. This was important in our discussions and negotiations of process with staff. I say trucks as in semi-trucks in this case, cars and people, right? That's really what goes into circulation. The red is the passenger vehicle route. The green is the truck route. And the idea here is to have safe access, look at points of conflict, manage those in a safe manner with sidewalk and with crossings where you can see them. You get a good idea. Cars come in, move out of the site, or go into the distribution warehouse area. And similarly on the green is the truck route, and you can see it's pretty clean, separated in that path to the fueling station and back out to the site. Similarly for the fast food set. There's a cut and fill map. The fill you can see because we have the depression there and the darker green area that goes up to 14 feet. It explains why we have the cut and fill use permit. Nothing on the cut side, only the fill. There's the C-store elevations. And then here is the last exhibit I have, which is the issue of the drainage way. It's not a natural drainage way. It's a disturbed drainage way. Once it comes into Copart, it was piped. There are a few remnant locations shown in red that are still not piped. 2 of them are undeveloped sites, and the rest are freeway right-of-way. You can see our project site noted there. And so what we really see when we drill down is this is not a natural drainage course. It's man-made. There's culverts that are stubbed into this property that drain a roadside drainage on Virginia Street, and then the water that comes further up that goes through Copart into the property is the drainage that's dumped onto this property. Not a natural drainage course, not a natural drainage way. And so working through that issue with staff, we found it to be responsible to propose it as we did. And then once you leave the site in the freeway, you can see it goes all the way to Silver Lake as it's piped adjacent to the railroad tracks. and all the way into further up instead. So that's all I have. Got our staff here for, our team here for any questions you might have. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Joy, do you have a Joseph, do you have a presentation, please?
All right. Thank you, everyone. Joey Winter, Associate Planner for the record, here to present on this item, which is the US 395 Exit 76 gas station and warehouse development. And this item was continued from your April 20th meeting. It's a conditional use permit request in the North Valleys. You'll see here is the site. It is south of US 395 at the Stead Boulevard interchange, exit 76, believe it or not, zooming in. You'll see that the highway is to the north. To the west would be the Steadspur Railway line and the storage facility. To the south is North Virginia Street, and then to the east, where access to this site is proposed, would be Stead Boulevard. So the site's a little over 10 acres, and the zoning is mixed-use suburban, or MS. That's the red hatched area you'll see on your screen here. Zoning on this side of the freeway is mostly a mix of the mixed-use suburban and then industrial commercial, or IC, the gray area. And then to the west, the storage facility is general commercial zoning. This is a conditional use permit request. So there's four things that trigger, there's four things that trigger an entitlement with this project. There's two uses, the gas station use and then the drive-through for food service require a minor conditional use permit in the mixed-use suburban zone. And then with this site specifically, because fills greater than 10 feet are proposed, a major site plan review is triggered. And in addition, because there is disturbance of a major drainage way, that triggers the major site plan review as well. The zoning code allows the applicant to bundle all those together and bring it before you as one conditional use permit request. So I'll go over the site layout as well real quick. There's three proposed main uses. At the south here in green would be the drive-through for the fast food restaurant. Above that to the north would be in yellow here, the gas station and convenience store. And then at the rear of the site is a warehouse proposed. That warehouse is allowed by right in this zoning district. One other thing to touch on your screen here, that truck stop or travel plaza as defined in the zoning code is not allowed in this location. When the applicant first brought this in, staff's main concern was that this was a truck stop being proposed. We worked with the applicant to get some more information. The applicant made some adjustments to their proposed plan. And then staff also looked at the code again and saw where that line was for a truck stop. With the proposed plan in front of you tonight and then the conditions that staff recommends, we are confident that this is not a truck stop as defined by code. And then we also have the ability to enforce that this won't become a truck stop in the future. So with that, I will put the conditional use permit findings up on your screen here. If you have any questions on any of them, please follow up with me. I'd be happy to elaborate further. And then the recommended motion from staff is approval, subject to the conditions in your staff report. And I am certainly here to answer any questions you may have. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Joy. Commissioners, let's start with disclosures, and we'll start with Commissioner Gower.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No disclosures.
Commissioner Munoz, no disclosures.
Commissioner Velton, no disclosures.
Commissioner Draculich, familiar with the site.
Commissioner Johnson, no disclosures.
Commissioner Taylor, I am familiar with the site. Do we have any public comment for this item? Heather? Thank you.
No requests to speak forms were submitted, no correspondence was received or voicemails.
Okay, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission for questions of either the applicant or Joey, who'd like to get us started. Commissioner Gower.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I have a quick, easy question for the applicant. John, just trying to understand the kind of the mix of uses going on the site, and want to say appreciate the conversations that have been had regarding the truck stop use and avoiding that. So just trying to understand a little bit more with the warehouse distribution use and how that relates with the fueling station and a restaurant. Can you just talk to me a little bit about what's anticipated for that warehouse use piece of this?
Yeah, it just, there was never any intent, like you're thinking like alternatively, maybe a full-blown retail or something.
Just trying to understand the extent of really the trips coming in and out of this facility and what it's gonna look like.
Traffic generation.
Yeah.
More traffic question. I can bring Perry to that. If you want to talk about land use, I think what I learned from the applicant was, and his investors was, good location, obviously off the arterial street and next to the freeway for some services, convenient services, sundries that are typical for with convenience retail, and then the gas that goes with it, including the pumps for the trucks. Similarly, good locational criteria for fast food. That was the end of the discussion for the retail component, but you still got a lot of acreage in the back there, a good market, good access for the distribution warehouse, so we decided to go that direction.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to understand it. I mean, as far as warehouse distribution facilities go, the footprint or the square footage of the building isn't that large.
It's not large. It's not typical, not anywhere close, right? Yeah.
Right. We're looking at million square foot buildings out
Right,
there now.
yeah.
And so I'm just trying to understand, what that
Yeah,
could
it's
contain, really.
it's there's not a specific user yet. It's going to be shell space, the way I understand it, and targeted user types, obviously, because they're looking at the 400 or 500 up to 1 million square foot boxes these days. For the logistics, certainly not that kind of use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, if I could ask a follow-up question on the traffic. Similar question specific to that component of the use, but really just overall trying to understand what the triggers are. And there was mention of, needing to have facility improvements because of the LOS threshold. Can you just kind of walk me through that with the use piece with the warehouse and what you're anticipating in terms of the traffic improvements?
Yeah, absolutely. Perry Schaffner with Kinley Horn for the record. So the industrial bit is anticipated to generate 30 AM peak hour trips and 26 PM peak hour trips. So we anticipate that trip generation for that portion to be fairly minimal compared to the rest of the site. And then as far as the improvements needed, we, based on traffic counts, are seeing that there may be a requirement for NDOT to make some improvements at both of the off-ramps, but they're already meeting traffic signal warrants in their existing conditions, and this project is not anticipated to add a significant impact to the existing conditions.
Okay, perfect. So with that, again, back to that warehouse distribution use and those trips that you provided, what assumption did you make in terms of the use there? I'm having a hard time understanding what is the potential use for that particular space, because it just doesn't fit with the rest of this site.
So we had coded it as general light industrial.
Can you just give me an example of
I don't have the
that is?
definition in front of me. David is on the line as well, and he could potentially speak to that answer.
Yeah, thank you, Perry. So a site of this size and square footage will not lend itself to a tenant that might be what you're concerned about with respect to a large distribution facility, such as an Amazon or the like. If that answers your question, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's not an Amazon distribution center. I'm just trying to get an example of, what type of use could go in there.
Good evening. My name is Frank Lepre. At this point, we don't know who's going to go in there, but my, gut feeling, we need small warehouses too. Not everybody can afford a 1 million square footer. So people like in my business might need a 20,000 square feet, and it'd be a good use for them. You could do an industrial commercial kind of thing in that area. We don't know if we're going to have one user and sell the building or split it in half. So right now, the industrial piece is probably a gray area for us, but it'll be a complement use to what we're doing below.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, could I follow up with staff? I'm almost at the end of this, getting to where I need to get to here. Thanks. Thanks, Joey. Just wanting to close the loop on this conversation with the trips, and as you looked at it and kind of the gray area as it was, said in terms of what that use could be, that staff is comfortable with what's being presented in terms of trips, and I'm particularly, sensitive to this because it is already in an area that is not meeting the LOS requirements.
Yes, certainly. I appreciate the question. And the staff looked at the traffic report that came in from the applicant. It's also kind of a unique situation out there due to the number of entities that control the right-of-way. There's city right-of-way out there. There's the Federal Highway Administration has the freeway. There's NDOT roads. And then there's the RTC as well, or the Regional Transportation Commission. So the application was reviewed, city staff talked to NDOT, the applicant also talked to NDOT, and we are comfortable with that with the conditions proposed in the staff report, specifically the 12 and 13 there, that covers what we need.
Okay, and you're comfortable with the trip generation that's being attributed to that industrial use on the site? And
Yeah, I believe our engineering staff was comfortable. If the engineering manager would like to add anything more, he can, but we're comfortable with it.
okay, all right, thank you. Madam Chair, that's all I've got.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yeah, Commissioner, for the record. Staff, this will be for you. Joe, I just want to commend you. You seem to get more and more comfortable with each meeting, so you're doing well. With the MS zoning, is there a 24-hour use, or is that something they have to come forward for? I'm wondering this for the warehouse area.
No, that's not allowed by right in the mixed-use suburban zoning district, so it's 6 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Okay, so that will be for the gas station as well?
Yeah, the requirements,
The whole-
entire zoning district, 6 a.m., 11 p.m.
And can that be adjusted if they come back for another permit?
They would have to come back.
Okay, all right. And then a quick question for the applicant. What is, thanks, John. What is the footprint warehouse size? What are they looking at?
I think it was 70, right around 70,000, maybe 73,000.
73,000.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioners, other questions? Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to piggyback just a little bit, Joey, so if you could answer one question. So I appreciate the line of questioning that the commissioners had on the warehouse, because that was the one item that I had as well. But as I understand it, it was listed as a warehouse, so there's any number of uses that could go in there as long as they fit within that category. I'm just wanting to make sure that staff is comfortable, since it is somewhat of an undefined element on this particular application, that, I guess if the building gets built according to that footprint or somewhere in that realm, we're fine because it's allowed by right. Then anything in there, to Commissioner Munoz's point, that might have different hours, maybe outdoor storage requirements, things like that, all of those would be looked at and would have to be applied for separately. None of that gets done here just because it's allowed by right. There's still a number of other, I guess, triggers for some of the unknowns that we have here for some items that might be of concern. Is that staff feel comfortable that that is in place and what we're looking at here?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think that's accurate. The request before you is for those 4 things that require additional review that was on my first slide there. Nothing beyond that is allowed. Any additional entitlements or anything that would trigger a conditional use permit at this site, you're not approving that tonight. It would need to come back the 24 hours or other things. Like outdoor storage, there is some provision for limited outdoor storage at a warehouse facility like this, but there are additional use standards in the code that they would have to abide by, and that would be captured in the building permit review. We would make sure that those are met.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then I think just another piggyback question, this one for John, if you've got a moment. The issue that was touched on with the traffic and the level of service and that, I see the conditions on this, and I'm always a little bit sometimes confused as to how we do it, but it appears that the conditions that are on here require this project to get approval or I guess, certification from NDOT before even a site grading permit can be accomplished. And is it your understanding that that permit is it's not just a use because you're adjacent to the freeway, but it also addresses some of these traffic issues that were brought up with respect to, whether that needs to be a warranted, a signal gets put in there and all of that is a part of the NDOT permit?
That is correct. It was, that was the basis of the continuance largely. The whole bundle of traffic issues involving including the freeway on-ramp, RTC, and NDOT, and all of them involved.
Okay, so your understanding, which is hopefully my understanding, is that all of these traffic issues that are kind of written about and clearly stated in the traffic study, those need to be addressed and will be addressed as a part of the NDOT permit that you have to include as a part of your City of Reno building permit.
That is correct. That's my understanding and as conditioned.
Okay, thank you. And
No, thank you.
Real quick, I appreciate that, John. And just real quick, Joey, you're in agreement with this line of questioning that you're understanding it the same way that the traffic is addressed and wrapped up with NDOT. And that's why we don't have any specific conditions for City of Reno as far as that goes.
If I may correct, I said 70,000 square foot on the box. I pulled up my site plan. It's 40,500. Thank you.
Yes, thanks for the question, Commissioner Johnson. Joey Winter, Associate Planner. For the record, we're confident that these conditions, we've had some good dialogue with staff internally with the applicant about what, again, it's a convoluted situation out there with all the entities that own right away. We're confident that this process will play out how we intend it to with these conditions.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate the answers from both of you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Other questions, commissioners? I have a quick question. This is just basically the same question that Commissioner Johnson asked, but I'm going to ask it a little bit differently. And the reason why I'm asking it is because we have a lot of people that come in here and say the traffic out there is horrendous, and it is. That's not necessarily because of this project, but I think I need to understand when we say it's not necessarily operating out there efficiently right now as it is. The traffic report or analysis came up with some recommendations. So in the report, there's recommendations that say NDOT should do this. We recommend NDOT should we do this. Do you know that is NDOT going to implement some of these improvements with their permit? Probably not, but those are the recommendations. So when we say like they're going to be addressed, what does that necessarily mean?
Yeah, and
I know Mike Michelle's here too.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I think that was staff's first concern when reading the staff report is that it has recommendations for NDOT. As you said, the traffic out there, the traffic report shows that it's already failing some of these intersections, and this project will contribute to it further, but it's not all this project that's causing all the traffic out there. So in terms of when will the improvements be built is sort of what you're wondering. I don't think that we have anything concrete at this point, but it does have, the applicant must coordinate with NDOT, the Nevada Department of Transportation, out there. And if NDOT requires anything at that point, the applicant needs to coordinate with them, if that sort of answers your question.
No, it does answer my question. So it's not necessarily the planning commission's job to sit here and say, okay, you need to widen the on-ramp or off-ramp or whatever, but the recommendations are in there and the applicant will be coordinating with NDOT, and then it's NDOT's responsibility, RTC, to make sure that those improvements have been made and everybody's aware of them.
Yes, that was the intent of the conditions. And yes, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, commissioners? Motion?
Discussion?
Oh, sorry, discussion?
I'll start, Madam Chair, if you don't mind.
I'm on a time crunch, I've been told.
I think we're in trouble for that one, but I just want to say that I really like the project. I like the way this is brought forward. I think it's a good use of the area. Obviously, being from Ward 4 and seeing that area specifically, my limited vision didn't see a lot of uses for that. And I think this is a great use of the property. I really do. So I have no concerns with it, and looking forward to this one moving forward.
Other discussion? Want to make a motion?
I would love to. Let me get back to it. All right, in the case number LDC 22-00059, the Exit 76 gas station warehouse conditional use permit. Based on compliance with the applicable findings, I move to approve the conditional use permit, subject to conditions listed in the staff report, and I can make all the findings.
Commissioner Velto, I'll second.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Good luck with your project. Okay, we will move on to item 5.2. This is case number,
I'd just like to say thank you to Joey and the staff. I've been doing this a long time in the city of Reno and many other cities and counties. And the city of Reno right now, the way they're doing process and procedures, it's really nice. This is a tough site. We were able to work together and work through all the problems. And your question about NDOT, yeah, I think it's on their 3 or 4 year, they're adding a lane from Golden Valley to Stead Boulevard. At that time, they'll do that intersection.
thank you so much.
Thank you and have a great evening.
You too. Okay,
Thanks,
we'll
guys.
move on to item number 5.2. This is case number LDC 22-00060, Victorian Auto Sales. This is a request for a conditional use permit and alternative equivalent compliance. Say that 10 times fast. Do we have a presentation from the applicant?
We do. And it is up there. Hi, my name is Lisa Nash. I'm with Christie Corp. And we're here representing Victorian Auto Sales conditional use permit tonight. And I have two of the engineers, J.R. Hildebrand and Doug Falens from Tech Civil Engineering Consultants with me. So, move forward. We're here to ask allow for the establishment of a used car lot at the corner of Stuart and Kitsky, that is in the general commercial zoning district with residential adjacency, and the alternative equivalent compliance for the southern landscaping border of the property. Oops, wrong way. So the site is in the southwest corner of Stuart and Kitsky, just south of Mill Street, right across from other parking or other used car lots, and was formerly a used car lot. The site currently is vacant, has a building that has been used before for used car sales, has the signs, and is asphalted. It's in the general commercial zone, backing up against multifamily residential and mixed use all around in that general zone. If we go to the preliminary site plan, what we plan is to put 8 parking spaces back against the residential, which has a solid fence, and then landscaping along the streets of Stuart and Kitsky, and then we're asking for that equivalent alternate equivalent compliance along the southern boundary, which is between the 2 lots, which traditionally both lots have been used together. Currently they're under different ownership, and it's got an easement through it with overhead power lines, underground power, and all kinds of things that would make putting landscaping there very difficult. So what we're looking to do for the alternative compliance is to put additional landscaping along the street areas to break that view from the streets. So we'll have trees of different sizes, bushes of the required amount, and we'll also have trees back against the solid wood fence that will block from the the multifamily residents behind us. So this is asking to have an auto sales operation on a property that previously had an auto sales. The previous conditional use permit expired when they were selling the property and changing ownership, so that's why we're back before you again. The existing building will only be used as a sales office for 4 to 5 full-time and 1 part-time employee, and the only things that'll be stored in it are like small clapboard signs or something. There's no storage or anything else going on there. And they plan to be open 9 to 7 weekdays and Saturdays, and then 10 to 5 on Sundays. So this existing, I already went through this, the existing improvements include an 1,815 square foot building. It's got the asphalt surface. There's lighting that will need to be brought into compliance and signage. The sign that is on the corner, right on the corner of Stuart and Kitsky, will remain. They will just reface it. No additional height or changes requested there. The landscape buffers will be added along the street zones. There is nothing there right now but bollards and concrete, so it will be an improvement to the area. Let's see, I've talked about all this, but the alternative equivalent compliance is for that south boundary alone. We are meeting all the landscape requirements on the other sides, and we're going to put trees and shrubs to screen everything, and the use is compatible with the use types, and there's no more intensity in use than previously operated on site. And that's the whole thing. Thank you
very much. Leah, do you have a presentation?
Yes, I sure do. Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, Leah Brock, Assistant Planner with the City of Reno. This evening, I am going to follow up on Ms. Nash's presentation and just give you a little bit more info on the conditional use permit for Victorian Auto Sales. The subject parcel is 0.36 acres site located in the General Commercial Zoning District on the southwest corner of the intersection at Stuart Street and Kitsky Lane. The request is for a conditional use permit to allow for the establishment of an automotive dealership with 12 or more automobiles, trucks, mobile homes, RVs, boats, or trailers stored on site for sale. It is also adjacent to a residential zoning district, and as Ms. Nash talked about, they have requested alternative equivalent compliance to vary from the parking lot edge landscaping that's required on the southern portion of the parcel. The key issues related to this request are compatibility with the surrounding zoning and the uses, parking, access, and circulation, and just the overall site design. As I stated, this parcel is located in the General Commercial Zoning District. It is adjacent to multifamily residential with a 30-unit maximum per acre there to the west of the property, and also kind of cat-a-corner to the north as well. Here you can see some of the surrounding uses. Overall, the use of the parcel as an automobile dealership will be generally compatible and consistent with the surrounding uses and really should have little to no impact on those surrounding residential uses. You can see that most of the uses are gas stations. There's gas stations on two sides, automotive dealerships on two sides. We have a tavern with gaming there. And then we have the residential apartment complex that's adjacent to the site, but there's also another one across Stuart Street in the General Commercial Zoning District. So even though that's technically not a residential zoning district, we do have a residential use in that location. The compatibility concerns related to that would be lighting, noise, hours of construction, and the potential for outdoor storage, which is allowed as a limited accessory use in the zoning district. To resolve those concerns, staff has worked with the applicant to craft conditions, including a lighting plan, noise mitigation, restricted hours of construction, limited outdoor storage, and we've also prohibited outdoor services, animated signage, and outdoor sound systems. This is typical of the car dealerships that have been permitted in the area in the last few years. The overall site design includes utilizing the existing 1,815 square foot structure, the existing monument sign, and the existing solid wood fence that's along the western side adjacent to the residential apartment complex. As the applicant pointed out, they have proposed an 8-foot to 15-foot landscape buffer between that residential use and what they're going to propose as their parking lot for employees and customers. The alternative equivalent compliance to vary from that parking lot edge will require them to plant 2 trees and 12 shrubs that would be required along that side elsewhere on the site. Staff feels that that's a fair compromise and will add to the aesthetics of the property and the general overall improvements. Plus, since the parcel to the south is already being used as a car dealership, should in the future this car dealership become part of that dealership, then it would allow for that to easily be one parcel. The site is currently comprised of 2 separate parcels and 2 access points. One access point is off of Stuart Street and one is off of Kitsky. The applicant intends to keep the two parcels as two parcels for any potential future development. Staff is going to require a cross-access agreement for that. Also, we have a request from the engineering department for a gap study to ensure that they're not going to end up with a backup of traffic, making that right-hand turn off of Kitsky Lane and then attempting to make a left into the parking lot off of Stuart Street. Should that gap study show that a gap in traffic is required there, they will be required to mark it as a do not block area, like we see in a lot of other areas of Reno. The project was reviewed by various city divisions and partner agencies. Courtesy notices and hearing notices were sent out to all of the surrounding property owners. No noted concerns have been received, no comments have been received. The project was presented to the Ward 3 Neighborhood Advisory Board and no comments were received from them either. So in conclusion, the proposed use meets or exceeds the standards and code and does address all of the applicable findings. Therefore, staff recommends approval subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. That concludes my presentation and the recommended motion is on the screen and I am available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Commissioners, let's have disclosure, starting with Commissioner Johnson, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Johnson, familiar with the site?
Commissioner Draculich, familiar with the site.
Commissioner Velto, same disclosure.
Commissioner Munoz, same disclosures.
Commissioner Gower, same disclosures.
Commissioner Taylor, same disclosures. Do we have any public comment for this item?
There were no requests to speak forms submitted, no correspondence received, or voicemails received.
Thank you. We will close public comment and ask commissioners if they have questions of either the applicant or Leah. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lisa, a question for you. And I bring this up only because it came up at our last meeting. There's the information in here and the condition about a lighting plan being required. Is the plan to redo the lighting for the property, or is there existing lighting that's going to remain?
There's existing lighting that has been updated. It's LED that has adjustable. It wasn't properly permitted, so that will need to be corrected and adjusted, but it has already been updated from what it was.
Okay, and is the applicant comfortable that the condition can be met based on the lighting that's there? Okay.
Yes.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioners, other questions? Discussion? Motion?
Madam Chair,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, I'm waiting to make a motion, but I just want to make one comment before I do that, and that was a thank you to Leah in the presentation. You put that little graphic up there for the gap study. That was helpful. I think the description in here was good, but actually seeing what you were talking about graphically, thank you for that. So I just wanted to get that on the record that I appreciated that. And if there's no other discussion, Madam Chair, we'll make a motion. In the case,
Other
I know.
discussion?
I'm sorry. Sorry.
All eyes on you.
I was scrolling to it. In case LDC 22-00060 Victorian Auto Sales, based upon compliance with the applicable findings, I move to approve the conditional use permit and the alternative equivalent compliance, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report, and based on those, I can make all of the findings.
Commissioner Gower, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Great. Motion carries. Thank you so much. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we will move on to item 5.3. This is case number LDC 22-00061. This is a request for a major site plan review and another alternative equivalent compliance. Do we have a presentation from the applicant, please?
Yes, we do. Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Dave Snellgrove. I'm the Planning and Right-of-Way Manager with CFA. Been working on this project and been very happy to work on this project with a good friend of mine, Ed Thomas, who've known for many years, and also the team at the Nevada Museum of Art. This has been a really fun project to work on. I go through this and get to see some of the neat components that they've got in this expansion. With me, I have Ed behind me here, and also Amy Opio is live. She's with the Nevada Museum of Art, and she can speak much more eloquently and passionately on some of their operational things that they do and some of their goals and missions. So if you have any questions on that, I will definitely defer over to her. This is the Nevada Museum of Art site already exists off of Liberty Street, south side of Liberty Street and I still notice the Porsche building, and I know a lot of people don't, but it'll always be the Porsche building right next to them. The expansion area is 2 parcels south of them. One contains an old mansion, which we are working, and I'll go ahead and state it right now. The Nevada Museum of Art has been working with a group in trying to see to get that mansion saved. That is at the northeastern corner of Hill and California. I believe it's the Sinai Mansion. It's not on the list of historic places, the Registry of Historic Places, but it is one that's important to our history in the city of Reno. And Amy and group have been working with others and trying to see to get that saved and moved to an appropriate location with this expansion. The total site, after those 2 parcels get joined in, is 1.79 acres. We have a request before you for a major site plan review. This is for exceeding the 55-foot height limit, and I'll go through in our cross sections or there are building elevations and point out that the height of the proposed expansion building is actually lower than the existing building. We do have a requirement for a major site plan review for an expansion of the 50,000 square feet. It exceeds the 20,000 square foot limit before you go into a major site plan review. And then we have another alternative equivalent compliance, which I've had a few that I brought before you. There have been others. It's actually a really good tool and gives us an opportunity to take a look at what makes sense with the code and working with the situations that exist in our city already. So the property is master planned, downtown mixed use. This allows for such use as cultural facilities, public spaces, arts. I think it's kind of, some of my stuff down below is kind of blocked by the images there on the bottom of the screen, but arts is one of those, and public facilities. Thank you. And public spaces. So cultural facilities, arts, and public spaces. The property is zoned mixed-use Riverwalk district corresponding with the master plan designation. These uses are allowed in this district, and this is one of your more in the downtown area, one of your more intensive land use, but has a wide mix of uses. So these are images of the site existing. This is the northeast on the left-hand side and northwest corners of the site. I want to point out on that northwest corner, you can see the sidewalk at back of curb. This is where we're requesting an alternative equivalent compliance. The requirements right now say you've got to put a parkway planter in, and then you go to the sidewalk behind the parkway planter. What we have right behind that is a rather large public plaza area. That public plaza area with the artwork in it and some landscape, that will get modified with this plan and enhanced, and there will actually be a really neat component, and it's called Falling Fruit, and Amy can explain more than I only know it a little bit on the surface, but there will actually be fruit-bearing trees and vines in there that are available for people to go and pick. It's kind of an urban produce market to a degree without a cost to it, but we are making modifications to that plaza area as part of the expansion. That'll be in phase 1 of the expansion. On the south end of the site, these are the 2 parcels that exist off of California. The photo on the left-hand side shows that the mansion, and I believe it's the Sinai Mansion, and then you have a smaller house on the right-hand picture. That mansion is the one that people are working on trying to save at our neighborhood advisory board meeting. We did have one lady there who's been working with Amy that she had a concern, wanted to make sure that was going forward, and Amy assured me, yes, it in fact was, that we were trying to continue that effort. So the site here, actually, there are screens across the bottom. Is there a way to minimize those by chance? I think some of my later slides will be There we go. Thank you. So this shows the overall site. You have north is to the left-hand side here in the red area. That's the existing site. And then to the south is our expansion area. And on those two areas, phase one of the project, which the Nevada Museum of Art already has funding to go forward with this, that would be a modification to the plaza, as I mentioned. Let me see, I think I had some, no, I didn't have them on there. The restaurant expansion area, that it will move some of the building out closer to the sidewalk. And then north of that will be the falling fruit exhibit, or the falling fruit planting area. And then that strip that's not stippled, that'll be where the fruit trees and vines and different things will be planted. So on that alternative equivalent compliance, because we have that really large plaza area, we felt that was appropriate to look at what we're trying to accomplish with a parkway planner is some additional space and some additional feeling of openness, especially when you get into an urban environment. And because we have that plaza space, we felt that was a good substitute for basically a nonprofit going out and ripping up the sidewalk and putting something else in that ended up meeting the letter of the code while we felt it was already largely met, or the intent of what we're trying to do in the downtown urban area, that was already met. So these are the east and west elevations. On the top, you have the east elevation. On the bottom, you have the west. The west would be looking at it from Hill Street. And down here on that Hill Street side, I boxed in where the restaurant expansion will come out from the existing building. And then the two boxes on the east and west elevations, I've shown where the expansion area is. That's 45,000 square feet of expansion. That will be the Education and Resource Center. The Nevada Museum of Art brings about 8,000 school children. I believe Amy told me that it's all the fourth graders. This is actually part of their school curriculum and some of the only arts education that a lot of them get. So they do have a good cooperative partnership with the Washoe County School District, as well as other districts. They bring people up from the Douglas County area as well. And I can't recall if Carson City was in that also. So up on the top image, you have the existing site, and on the bottom image is the proposed landscape plan. I'll point out all those trees in that kind of arc over in the plaza area. That would be where the fallen fruit is. And then you can see in part of our expansion area down there at the bottom right-hand corner, it's actually a rooftop outdoor garden and plaza area on top of the building. So what you'll see from the street level is more of the plaza and then the street trees. We will be adding, enhancing the plaza space. We have the rooftop garden, and then along California Avenue. Right now there are 4 trees. One of them's actually leaning pretty heavily. It's the one on the farthest east side. I was told by the person who's looking to get the historic the mansion relocated that we were thinking that possibly all 4 of those trees would need to come out. She'd met with the urban forester, and I think they may have it down to only 1 of those existing trees would need to come out. So then there will be 2 additional planted. So right now where there's 4, there will be 6 street trees. The applicant believes that the project will enhance the capacity to serve the K through 12 population of students, and also enhance resources and research availability. We have a lot of educators and that participate in development, scholars and who are undertaking academic research. It'll improve and enhance the existing public plaza area, and it enhances the available gallery space within the facility. We're in agreement with the staff's review and recommendations on the project. We're in agreement with the conditions as presented. If you have any questions, we are available to answer.
Thank you. Leah, do you have a presentation?
Thank you. I do. Again, Leah Brock, for the record, Assistant Planner with Development Services, City of Reno. My presentation's brief. I feel that Mr. Snellgrove just covered pretty much everything, so good presentation. So here you can see The Nevada Museum of Art has requested a major site plan review to allow for a 50,000 square foot addition with a building height of 55 feet on a 1.79 acre site in the mixed-use downtown Riverwalk zoning district. The main project site is located on the northeast corner of the intersection of Hill Street and California Avenue. As Mr. Snellgrove pointed out, the project includes relocation and/or demolition of the two existing structures, the proposed addition, and enhancements to the existing pedestrian plaza. The applicant has also requested the alternative equivalent compliance related to the required improvements to the existing sidewalk. Key issues related to this request include the overall site design, the alternative equivalent compliance and the sidewalk design in that area, and the relocation and demolition of the existing structures. Again, the site is located in the mixed-use downtown Riverwalk zoning district. The only real compatibility concerns could be related to the height of the structure, although many of the surrounding structures are residential conversions to commercial, and there are also non-conforming structures in the area that were developed either with entitlements or prior to the 45-foot height limitation. The adjacent structure to the east, which I believe Mr. Snellgrove called, what was it? The old Porsche building. The old Porsche building, sorry, I didn't remember that, is a 12-story office complex. The existing museum exceeds the allowed 45-foot building height by approximately 20 feet. So the proposed 55-foot building height is less than the existing structure and technically less than the structures on two sides. Also here you can see the two structures proposed to be relocated or demolished. The mansion on the corner of Hill Street and California Avenue is right in the forefront of that photo, kind of the grayish blue. And then the other one is back off in the background. It's a single story and it's kind of a cream color there. As Mr. Snellgrove pointed out, neither of these structures are on the historic registry. However, the applicant has been working with a local group to relocate the mansion, and it sounds like that's moving in a positive direction. The proposed plans for expansion of the restaurant include expanding the footprint of the existing museum building west toward Hill Street. Right here you can see where I've circled that, and exactly as the applicant pointed out, basically what's required is 6 feet of landscaping, I guess it's a 6-foot buffer area between the curb and the sidewalk, and then 6 feet of sidewalk. The existing sidewalk there just backs directly up to the curb, so the applicant is requesting that basically they're not going to put in that 6-foot buffer, and instead they're going to make those enhancements to the plaza, which overall staff supports the alternative method of compliance as the community benefits from the improved plaza are equivalent to or exceed the benefits that would be associated with the subject standard in this case. The project was reviewed by various city divisions and partner agencies. Courtesy notices and hearing notices were sent out to all of the surrounding property owners. Additionally, the project was presented to the Ward 1 Neighborhood Advisory Board. Although the Ward 1 Neighborhood Advisory Board did not submit comments on this project, they did bring up the concerns regarding the historical significance of the building on the corner of Hill Street and California Avenue. In conclusion, the proposed request does meet or exceed all standards and code and addresses the applicable findings. Therefore, staff recommends approval subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. And that concludes my presentation. The recommended motion is on the screen, and as always, I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Commissioners, let's start with disclosures with Commissioner Gower, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No disclosures.
Commissioner Munoz, no disclosures.
Commissioner Valto, familiar with the site?
Commissioner Dracula, same disclosures.
Commissioner Johnson, familiar with the site, and I believe we received an email in support of the project.
Commissioner Taylor, same disclosures. Do we have any public comment for this item?
We did receive correspondence for this item. It was submitted as part of the record and distributed to the Planning Commission. We did not receive any voicemails or requests to speak forms.
Okay, we'll close public comment and ask commissioners for questions of either the applicant or Leah. Commissioner questions? Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dave, I think this will be for you. And it's, maybe it's a question of functionality, so if Amy needs to weigh in on it possibly as well, but I see that as a part of the expansion, looks like on the first floor, there's an added entrance on California. And you spoke to the fact that this is being added for, educational purposes and that, and I noticed there was some information in the staff report that Leah put in there about potentially a bus parking zone or something. Is there an intent to change some of the circulation in and out of the building to be off of California Street?
No. That entrance, and Amy can add on to this, but generally speaking, I'll address some of the bus discussions and school children loading or unloading. The school children would come in that side. That's going to be more of the educational side, and a lot of what is offered for the school curriculum will be focused more towards that side. Right now, they enter through the main entrance over on I guess it would be the eastern side. And typically the buses will unload on Hill Street. We were looking initially at the possibility of maybe doing a bus loading zone right on California, although we ended up learning through the process. We had discussions, Mr. Thomas contacted the school district. That's an arterial level street, and doing the loading and unloading there wouldn't be allowed because of the volume of traffic. We'd still stay over on the Hill Street side. That's something that the bus loading zone in general can be done outside of this process, and it was getting a little bit convoluted. Right now, they load and unload just as if they can pull over to the curb, they will, but oftentimes there's cars parked. So they'll pull over in the street, put their stop arms out, the bus will unload, and then the bus will move on. The buses will typically go and park at a parking lot somewhere in or around the area, and then come back to do their pickup. Typically, this happens 9 a.m., and then they'll pick up closer to 1 p.m. So there's a window of time that the kids will be there going through the curriculum. In terms of the actual internal functions, I'll turn it over to Amy to kind of talk about what that expansion area is to hold.
So thank you, everyone, for your support today. The museum is building what we're calling an Education and Research Center. The Education and Research Center, as Dave mentioned in his presentation, provides support for the 6,000 school children, Washoe County school children K through 12 that we support every year during the school year as part of their only touch for visual arts education in our district. And then we also support Incline Village, Gardnerville, Minden, etc. We also welcome scholars internationally from all over the world to study in our library and in our archive. And so that particular entrance is designed to serve originally the bus load in, load out of those school children. So it will primarily be the education entrance for the museum, although we're still working to solve the problem of the busing.
Okay, thank you. That was the main question, was just trying to understand that we were going to be, if that was going to be the entrance for the students. So it's a controlled entrance, limited, not open to the public. That is the intent there.
I've never been one of few words.
Okay.
Nor was I. It is designed to serve that purpose, but it will also serve the general public as well. But our primary purpose is to bring the school kids into the building every morning for the school tour program.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioners, other questions? Discussion? No discussion.
Madam Chair, I'm ready to make a motion.
Motion?
Case number LDC 22-00061, Nevada Museum of Art expansion based upon compliance with the applicable findings. I move to approve the major site plan review and the alternative equivalent compliance subject to the conditions listed in the staff report, and I can make all of the findings.
Madam Chair, I second that.
Okay, we have the motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much. Good luck. Excited about this. This brings us to item 5.4. Let's see here. This is case number LBC 22-00062 Nevada Energy Gas Line. And this is a request for a conditional use permit. Do we have a presentation from somebody? Oh, via Zoom. The applicant via Zoom? Or just Brooke?
No, Mark Sullivan will be.
Oh, okay, great.
On behalf of MB Energy.
Hi, Madam Chair and Commission members. This is Mark Sullivan with MV Energy. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can, thank you.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you for having me this evening and reviewing our project. I'll make the presentation brief as staff did a pretty comprehensive job covering the project in the staff report. The project's a natural gas regulation station and a higher pressure gas line. Our NV Energy's natural gas distribution system in Northern Nevada serves approximately 167,000 customers. And shown on the next slide, the Nevada Administrative Code, it makes it our duty to deliver continuous supply.
Mark, hold on just a second. I don't think we can see the presentation. Just hold on 1 second, please.
Mark, are you sharing your screen with us?
I am not sharing my screen with you because I just have my notes. I sent the presentation, I thought, to you guys.
We'll share it with you. Hang on just a second, okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay, go ahead. You can.
So there's the screen or the slide that says that it discusses the Nevada Administrative Code, and we at MV Energy have a responsibility, a duty, and says we shall deliver a continuous supply of natural gas without interruption or shortage. And so to do this, we constantly analyze our performance of our system and our facilities to ensure it's operating at peak performance and also meeting demands that are out there. The next slide, that actually will help you orient yourself to the proposed location as it relates to the Reno overall. The little yellow box down on the bottom right-hand side is a project location in Southeast Reno, and that's on Desert Way. The site has been home to our Miraloma electric substation for over 40 years. It's over 22 acres in size, and you can also see down on the right-hand side that dotted line. That's actually the Story County boundary. And the next slide, it'll show you kind of existing conditions. That's what a substation looks like. And then down on the bottom right-hand side of the slide, you can see there's a fire hydrant down there, and the gas regulation station will be just to the east of that, about 150 feet to 200 feet to the east of that fire hydrant. So the project will provide a new gas source in South Reno and includes construction of a new gas pressure regulator station and a 16-inch diameter high pressure steel distribution pipeline. And of course the pipeline's underground. So the only part that's above ground is that gas regulator station. On the next slide, it kind of gives you a little bit of an idea. That orange line on the right side, that's the Story County boundary where the pipeline enters into the city of Reno jurisdiction. The gas line runs approximately a mile from the Story County line to the Miraloma substation site. And that's shown over on the left. And you can see some of those existing power lines that are coming in and exiting the substation. And the next slide, it will show you the regulator station location, which is adjacent to that substation. And that gives you a little bit of an idea of the scale and relationship to the existing sub. The regulator station is going to be about 80 feet by 120 feet. And if you take the square footage of that and divide it into the 22 acre site, it's about 1% of the site. The substation is 600 by 600, so that's about 360,000 square feet, and that's about a third of the 22 acre site, just to give you an idea. The next slide is a plan view of the piping that's going to be found inside the fence at the regulator station. Not a lot of exciting stuff there, basically some valves to regulate the flow of the gas. The next slide is an example of some of the piping that would be an elevation of that. The midline of that main pipe that's going to be there is 3.5 feet tall. At the highest point, we have a couple of spots that are a little bit over 5 feet tall. The fencing proposed is 6 foot 8 inches, plus 1 foot of 3-string 3-strand barbed wire on the top. So none of this stuff would be able to be seen if the fence had slats in it, as an example. The property is owned public facility, so it seems like the right place for this type of development. Construction we originally had planned to begin in June. It's been moved out, and we anticipate to begin in July of 22 and be completed by February of 23. And again, this is, the purpose of this is to serve the current loads that we have as they're increasing and to be able to serve future development. So we have reviewed the staff report and agree with the conditions, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mark. The museum pictures were much more interesting. Just gonna.
They were cool. They did a great job.
Frank, do you have a presentation for us?
I do. Good evening, Planning Commission. Brooke Oswald, Associate Planner for the record. Nice to be before you all tonight. The case before you tonight is LDC 22-00062 NB Energy Gas Line. Once again, just to look at the project information, it is approximately 5 parcels. One of those is in the city of Reno. The others are not in the city of Reno. They are in the sphere of influence and under our jurisdiction. The request is for a conditional use permit for that major utility. Additionally, we have cuts and fills for the actual site itself to get the level grading site of cuts over 20 feet and fills over 10. Both of those come together, and we review those at the same time under a conditional use permit. This will have to be reviewed by the Truckee Meadows Planning Agency for a project of regional significance. Staff has had discussions with the Jeremy Smith, the director of our regional, and the city legal team, and it was determined that this did not have to go to city council, that it could directly, if approved by this commission, could go directly to regional. For conformance review at that time. This does not require a change to the map or a utility line, and so therefore it would be reviewed by the planning group at regional. The key issues that we looked out is that compatibility, that grading, and then potential cultural resources in that area. So just to go over again where the arrow is, that is the Story County line and Washoe County line. As we look at down there, that the C in the middle there is that crossing of Steamboat Creek. Daybreak Development has a portion of their site on that side, and then we have the Bella Vista Ranch Phase 2 approved PUD in that area. As we know, there's approximately 4,000 homes that could be coming in with the Daybreak project. With that Bella Vista Ranch Phase 2 PUD, there's approximately 400 or 450 homes. So this is where we're seeing some of that need and that use in that area. The site is approximately located at the second orange circle or red circle there, as I stated before, in the city of Reno boundary. And the gas line runs approximately 1 mile underground to the Story County line, where it will meet up with the existing line on that side, or a line that will be constructed on that side. That will be all underground, that will be seeded and restored per our Public Works design manual. Just quickly, the applicant showed this this image, but as you can see, we have other major utilities running through that area, some big major power lines and other things running through that area. Quickly go over, once again, the area with NZ, that is in our sphere of influence, but does not have a zoning. The site itself or the facility itself will be in that PF zoning. That major utility is allowed within that zoning with that conditional use permit. There are 3 additional conditions that we see over our standard conditions. The first is that all above ground piping will have to be in a natural color. Additionally, the fence will have to be vinyl coated in natural color also to blend with that environment. That site is co-located with that large electrical distribution facility there, and so it sort of it covers. That co-location helps with that compatibility that we're consolidating those utilities all in one area. The second condition we have is based just on a permeon. It's one that we often see, that any rocks, riprap, be colored to the existing color around it. Additionally, the third one is a condition that would require that a cultural resource study be done in that area. I have worked in several areas around there, and that is a concern of Native American artifacts or other things that could be found through that. So they will conduct a survey on that, provide a management plan and mitigation procedures back to the city with their building permit on that. So with that, staff was able to make all the applicable findings with those additional conditions and recommends Planning Commission approve the request. Thank you. Available for questions as needed.
Thank you, Brooke. Commissioner Johnson, disclosures. We'll start with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Johnson, no disclosures.
Commissioner Dracula, same disclosures.
Commissioner Valto, no disclosures.
Commissioner Munoz, no disclosures.
Commissioner Gower, no disclosures.
Commissioner Taylor, no disclosures. Do we have any public comment on this item?
There were no requests to speak forms submitted, no correspondence, and no voicemails.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the commission for questions of either the applicant or Brooke. No questions? Discussion? Next is motion.
Madam Chair, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, Commissioner Munoz.
Commissioner Munoz, in the case of LDC 22-00062 Nevada Energy Gas Line, based on compliance with the applicable findings, I move to approve the conditional use permit, subject to the conditions, and I can make all the findings.
Commissioner Valto, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, commissioners, we will move on to item number 6, Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Liaison Report. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Their meeting last month was canceled due to lack of any items on the agenda, and there will be one scheduled for later this month, but no agenda information out on that yet.
Okay, thank you. Jason, staff announcements, please.
Good evening, commissioners. Jason Garcia-LeBoux, Planning Manager for the record. Just a quick update, and actually a big thank you to the last meeting, to the commission for sticking it through for so many items. But as you can see, we're still moving along, steady pace. Our May 18th meeting, it looks like we're gonna have 2 items, so it'll be a little lighter. So we're looking to have some training items added to that agenda, including a follow-up presentation from Suzanne Groneman. So we'll be kind of proceeding forward with that and hopefully addressing some of the other items that the commission brought up. On the April 27th City Council meeting, we just had one item. It was a follow-up. It was the adoption of the ordinance for the Coral Academy NC to SPD change in zoning. And then also an update, and this was mentioned at the last meeting, but we have currently 2 appeals that have been filed, one for the Reno Ironworks and one for the Jacobs Globe Plaza project. And those will both be at the City Council meeting on May 11th. So that's it for staff updates, but please let me know if there's any other items you want to see on the agenda or if we can be of further assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you and your team for our last meeting and your efforts. Moving on to item number 8, Commissioner suggestions for future agenda items. Okay, item number 9, public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Madam Chair, I would just like to state how hard it was for me to not start an architectural discussion about the Nevada Museum of Art project. Just want to put that out there as public comment. You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
I lost the bet. Do we have any public comment?
No requests to speak forms were submitted, no correspondence, and no voicemails.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and close public comment, and that brings us to item number 10, adjournment.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, good night, everybody. Thank you very much.